Whitney did, I think it was her last show with us, and she had gone back on drugs. The first interview I did with her when we'd gone behind stage and I asked her about her intention, she was clean. But the day she came to my show then to perform in front of the audience, she was not, and she fell.
So you gotta play fair, because I will not speak of a person about any conversation, about any incidents, about anything that they cannot say yes or no to. Because when you do that, that becomes unfair to the baby. Because they don't have they can't say, well, yes, that happened or that didn't happen.
Hey, most beautiful people in the whole wide world. I'm Jamila Ballard. This is the Virtuous Woman Podcast. Welcome back. If it's your first time here, welcome. And we hope that you'll consider subscribing and becoming a part of the most beautiful family in the whole wide world. Why? Because it's time. It is time for the virtuous women and men of God to stand up. And that's right, gentlemen, you are welcome here as well. Let's go ahead and get into today's video. So recently, Oprah Winfrey has decided, the great Oprah Winfrey has decided, the icon, the legend Oprah Winfrey, the business mogul Oprah Winfrey has decided that she wants to speak on the late Whitney Houston. She is a very loved and beloved woman all over the world. She was known as, and still is known as, the voice. She will always be known as one of the greatest singers and performers of all time. The light on that life and the power in her voice and the greatness that was on her life, it was absolutely just God. He created that baby that way. And we got to witness the greatness of Whitney Houston. Now, unfortunately, Whitney's life, just like everybody else's, was not without trouble and turmoil. She did struggle with substance abuse and drug addiction for probably many years. And so everyone is asking now, why all of a sudden is Oprah Winfrey coming out and saying that decades ago when Whitney was on her show, that Whitney fell because it was a result of her relapsing. She was on drugs and she was high that day. Let's take a look at this issue because I believe that this raises a much more important question. I think it exposes where we've just lost respect as a society. We've lost simple, basic human decency as a society. And we don't seem to know when something is just off limits. I also want to look at why Monique was interviewed and she expressed how she felt about Oprah Winfrey bringing this up all of a sudden. It's a well-known fact that Monique and Oprah Winfrey have been at odds for many years now. So let's go ahead and get into this. You guys drop me your comments as you're watching, and then I will be back with my commentary as well.
So you got to play fair, because I will not speak of a person about any conversation, about any incidents, about anything that they cannot say yes or no to. Because when you do that, that becomes unfair to the baby. Because they don't have they can't say, well, yes, that happened or that didn't happen.
Yeah, Oprah actually recently talked about Whitney Houston in an interview. Oh, that's why you said, okay, well, there's that. She said that Whitney, kind of passed out and might have alluded to maybe.
Didn't Oprah fall on stage?
Wellness to me.
And we didn't see we didn't see how she tripped, nothing. She just went down. We saw that. We saw her. She was walking and bam. And everybody was like, well, she said the shoes. Okay. Well, what was wrong? So, and as we're laughing about it and making light of it, just for me, how do you speak about someone that can't defend it? That, just in my humble opinion, it takes it different because that woman can't say yes or no. And now you just want everybody to take your word because you're the great Oprah Winfrey. And you just take my word that that's what happened. That I believe is unfair. I believe that's unfair. And
now I agree with her on that note 100%. I have a habit of examining myself, right? So I'll go back into the recesses of my mind and my memories and think, have you ever done that? And I realized I had. Do you know you can reach a place of bitterness and you don't even realize that now, if you've held on to it for a long time, now you're saying and doing things that you're not really proud of, and you don't even think you're the person who is capable of that type of stuff, right? So I realized for me, it was just emotional trauma from a very dysfunctional relationship. Okay, I'll put it that way. To come out and say this after all these years, what was the animosity? Where was it coming from? Let's listen to what Oprah had to say.
We did the whole, hey girl, how you doing, greeting thing. And then I stopped the cameras and I went behind stage and I said, so tell me, what do you want? What do you want to happen here? And I'm going to tell you what I want to happen here. And that was one of the most powerful interviews. And you all know this is an amazing thing that happened. I had such trust from the Oprah show audience that Whitney did, I think it was her last show with us, and she had gone back on drugs. The first interview I did with her when we'd gone behind stage and I asked her about her intention, she was clean. But the day she came to my show then to perform in front of the audience, she was not. And she fell off of the stage. And I knew that if that story got out that she'd fallen off of the stage, that she would be destroyed by that. And so even though the audience was there and the audience had cameras, I begged them not to put those pictures out because it would ruin her life, and they did not.
And what about...
That would not happen today, I can tell you.
But then she proceeded to, on a large platform, with the massive influence that she always brings, to expose what she said she wasn't going to expose. Supposedly she was being protective of Whitney. So where is the protection now? I mean, does Oprah just feel like, well, Whitney's not here, who cares? Certainly appears that way, but if you were that protective, that all falls apart the moment you start talking about the very thing that you say that you were protecting her from. Okay, so now let's hear from Whitney's bodyguard at that time.
Was there anything that day about her, maybe her behavior, that would suggest she was impaired that day?
No.
Oprah had suggested that she had relapsed and the fall was due to her being high. Do you think that was the case?
No, I think the case was she didn't really know that stage. And when she walked out there, she stepped off of it, stepped off the end onto the next level. You know, that was the case. I don't know. I guess I would did the same thing if I didn't, because it was sort of dark right there where she stepped off at. I don't think that's the case, but I can't. Miss Winfrey said was maybe she thought that way. I don't know. Maybe she was, looking, because I can see from her eyes. I can only see from mine. But I have to worry about that because I knew she was not. And Miss Winfrey might have thought that she was.
Seems very interesting to me that Oprah just seems to always, it seemed like Oprah just always wanted to push the narrative that Whitney was on drugs. And there's so many beautiful things that you could have said about Whitney's career. You could have focused on those things. Why did it always have to get back to the substance abuse issues? There was even, Oprah had the Legends Ball. I believe she had that at least 2 years. And Oprah was quoted as saying that Whitney Houston had not been there, although invited, because she was in rehab. Now, when Whitney was alive, she had taken accountability for her substance abuse problem, for her addiction. So I'm not in any way trying to blame Oprah. What I'm asking, though, and I think it's a very valid question, is why did it seem to always be the pushed narrative and the focus with Oprah Winfrey, that even when it did not need to be mentioned, it was? Okay, so guys, bear with me just a moment. I want to give you some background on Why Monique even exposed Oprah Winfrey? This goes back. Monique's feud with Oprah stems from a devastating 2010 episode on the Oprah Winfrey Show, where Oprah secretly brought on Monique's estranged family, her brother, to discuss her childhood trauma. Monique also claims Oprah and other powerful Hollywood figures blacklisted her for refusing to campaign for the film Precious for free. The primary reasons Monique has repeatedly called out Oprah include the 2010 talk show Betrayal, where Oprah called Monique to ask if her brother, who Monique publicly stated molested her as a child, could appear on the show to apologize. And Monique agreed to her brother's segment. But Oprah later surprised her by having Monique's estranged parents and other family members on the show to discuss the abuse. Okay, so Monique stated she never would have consented to her parents' involvement and felt Oprah exploited her childhood trauma for ratings, which sounds accurate. As producers on the film Precious, Oprah and Tyler Perry, along with director Lee Daniels, were allegedly involved in blackballing Monique in the industry after she declined to do unpaid promotional tours for the film. Monique later claimed Oprah even took leading roles that had been offered to her, such as in the 2013 film The Butler. All right, so let's move on now and let's take a look at another controversy that went viral. This was between Oprah Winfrey and Taraji P. Henson. Let's take a look.
In celebrity news, so this video of Oprah and Taraji interaction has been going viral. So you can see Oprah approached Taraji to stand next to her, but she didn't stand close to her. Taraji had to scoot a little bit so they can be able to take the picture. And then you can also see that Taraji was holding back tears, fake smiling, but she was holding back tears initially. And if you look closely, Oprah seemed a bit uncomfortable and disoriented. She's looking left and right to see who she can go and stand next to get away from Taraji. She ended up going all the way to her left to Daniel Brooks to stand next to her, and as you can see, she immediately started touching her and grabbing her hands so they can be able to pose for the picture. And then you're gonna see Fantasia kind of looked at Taraji because she probably was feeling Taraji energy and kind of was making sure she's okay. One thing I can say, energy don't lie. What do you think?
So Oprah Winfrey's love affair with the book Color Purple started way back, okay? And as she climbed the ropes and became very successful, she decided that she wanted to have a hand in producing The Color Purple. So she did produce the second making of The Color Purple, not the original, but the second one, and that one was a musical. So Taraji was in that, Fantasia was in that, Danielle Brooks, a host of other actors, famous actors and celebrities were in the second making, which Oprah produced. Now, on the press tour, during a couple of interviews, Taraji appeared to have been having an emotional breakdown, and she stated that she was treated unfairly as an actress in this movie. She expressed that she was frustrated over the lack of equality for Black women in Hollywood. She revealed that she had to fight for basic on-set accommodations, such as adequate food, dressing rooms, and proper transportation for the cast. Now, because Oprah Winfrey was a producer, the public as well as fans assumed that Taraji's frustrations were directed at Oprah Winfrey for not intervening. Online speculation was further fueled by viral TikTok videos that analyzed their perceived conflict. So as it were, both women quickly shut down the rumors, and Oprah Winfrey clarified that while she wasn't in charge of the studio's budget, she personally intervened to secure cars for the cast when she heard about the transportation issues. And Taraji P. Henson defended Winfrey in a written statement, stating that she had, quote, nothing but love and fondness for Oprah Winfrey, and declared that the rumored feud and media campaign was just designed to undermine the film. So you guys let me know what you think. When we consider Oprah Winfrey's history, as far as some of the bumps in the road that she's had, we'll call it that, in her relationships, in her working relationships with women, women who happen to be Black women, women who happen to be less powerful when you look at them in the sense of their influence, the influence that they have. What do you think? What does this point to in terms of Oprah Winfrey's character? Because we started off taking a look at her claiming Whitney Houston had relapsed and was high the day that she fell on Oprah Winfrey's show. What you have to wonder when you take all of this into consideration, the fact that she has been invited to resolve her conflict with Monique many times over the years, that this is something that's gone viral over and over. In fact, the other producer of the movie that Monique starred in, Precious, was very, very popular, huge, huge movie. He even apologized publicly. And Tyler Perry, who was also involved on that film, at least one conversation, and he at least tried to resolve the issue in some way with Monique. And yet, till date, Monique still hasn't heard from Oprah Winfrey. So what are we looking at here? Are we looking at an executive who is kind of a bully? Are we looking at a cultural problem where we put people on pedestals, we idolize them, and we just don't hold them accountable? Or they believe that they are above reproach and that they don't have to accept responsibility for their behavior? All right, guys, you let me know what you think. I think the whole thing is very interesting. I just think it's disgraceful. I think it's disgraceful when we talk about someone who cannot defend herself. And it's because we become vicious. As a society, we become very vicious where, okay, well, if Whitney's not performing anymore and her name is still getting clicks and likes, then what can we do? And because of social media, now it's a cultural norm to cast stones and to just tear people down. So that means even if they're no longer alive, it's fair game. But should it be, though? Should it be? You guys let me know what you think. It's not decent. It's not morally decent. And I don't know how we call ourselves a civilized society and think that this is acceptable. I don't think anyone should ever be above reproach. And I think when we forget about our pride and our egos, when we can put that aside, that there is always a better, more valuable, more beautiful story that can be told. And who knows, maybe it'll even get more likes. But if it didn't, we still would be better off if we didn't even care if it got more likes. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me a like, subscribe to the channel. YouTube will recommend more videos like mine to you. And as always, have a beautiful, blessed day. Remember, the most beautiful woman in the world, that would be a virtuous woman. That would be a virtuous woman, boo-boo. That's right. Bye, guys. See you next time.